What is up, everybody? You know me. I don't ever go live on the weekends unless something big happens. In fact, I end every show at the end of the week. I'll see you at the post game unless something big happens. And I would say that today constitutes something quote unquote big happening. Not in a good way by any means. I understand that. And I think 49er fans need an outlet to vent. So I'm going to give that to you. Now, you don't have to accept it. Just extending the olive branch. You can come on. You can have a little conversation. Can get it out. Well, hug it out, bro. Hug it out. Make sure that, not the, you know what I mean. But yeah, man, we might as well talk about it. A lot going on. Somehow the season from hell keeps getting worse. So let's hit this intro and we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And today's show is brought to you by Underdog. Make sure you check them out. Link is in the description. They sponsor the show all season long. They've been a great sponsor. If you want to play more or lesses, you want to play fantasy, pick'ems, whatever it is you want to do, they've got you covered. Thank you, Underdog, for being a great sponsor. All right. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. That's going to get you into the show, get you backstage. I'll bring you onto the show when I'm ready for you. And you'll have 5 minutes to vent, 5 minutes to get off your chest, whatever it is you feel like you need to get off your chest. But what a crazy day, right? I mean, it's funny because Grant and I did a show on Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. All my days are bleeding together. But I remember he asked me if I was worried about Brock Purdy's injury. I was like, no, he's going to play. He'll play on Wednesday. Or, excuse me, he'll play this Sunday. Nope. No, he's not going to play. So that was bombshell number one. Then Bosa is also not going to play. I think we kind of expected that. Trent Williams is questionable. And then Charvarius Ward's also not going to play. I thought he would play. Sounds like he's not going to play either. So the 49ers are going into Green Bay extremely shorthanded, not ideal by any means. Green Bay will be without Jair Alexander, who's their best corner. They will also be without their starting middle linebacker. So that's helpful for sure. But I think the 49ers are definitely going in with much less firepower than what the Green Bay Packers will have. So that being said, I've got Jason waiting backstage. I'm going to bring him on. And like I said, link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you're going to call in early. Just letting you know right now. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Been better.
Which is the reason for the show, really, right?
Yeah, I've been calling this season is down the gutter since April. The draft, when you walk in there and say our number one need is wide receiver 4, like, come on. I think Pearsall could be a guy, but
it sounds way more dumb when you say it out loud. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
We have literally any interior offensive lineman on the board. We've got CB1s on the board. We got guys all over the place that we can use this year on the board, and we go wide receiver 4. It's Pearsall might be a great player, but that's help next year, not this year. Even IU being out does kind of speed that up some, but we go wide receiver 5 later in the draft. We go halfback 4 later in the draft. Like, we need guys now that can come in now. Injury sped some of this stuff up a little bit, but we need linemen. We've needed them for years. Like, we're not putting any effort into upgrading that. It just feels like this draft, they drafted for next year's problems, not this year's problems, and it's kind of biting them in the ass again.
Yeah, it was almost like they drafted they drafted as if they were a team that was already made, and they were like, well, just take best player available, or what they felt was the best player available. And I think that works long term, but for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, it's not very helpful now.
It's as all the players are coming off the board, and I'm seeing people reaching for quarterbacks that were expected round 2, round 3, and it's like, man, we're going to get something, like, people are falling to us. And then they get wide receiver 4. It's like, what are you guys doing, man? Like,
sure would have been nice to get center 1, huh?
Center 1, tackle 1? Like, Trent's not going to play till he's 80.
Yeah.
So it's since then, it's been like, I just don't see what the goal is for this season. Like, they didn't feel like they were all in. It was, let's run it back for the 8th year in a row. And it's the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yeah, I like their draft. I mean, I do, but even in the moment, I felt the same way. It's like, man, are you guys drafting to help your team now, or is this all just because if you think about it, like, let's remember the situation they were in, right? They draft Pearsall, and you look at it and say, okay, well, Debo's probably gone next year. That makes sense for next year. Renardo Green, it's like, okay, well, Travarius Ward is probably gone next year. This makes sense for next year. Now, Purdy obviously made sense now, a little bit more so than the others, just because the guard position is kind of weak. And then Garendo didn't make sense for this year. Cowing didn't. He said, yeah, you're right. I mean, not a lot of it made sense for this year.
And it's like 10 weeks into the year, whatever we're at, like, they got some players. Like, I had big issues day of. Now it's like, all right, like, Green is going to be a guy. Like, I'm very happy with him. Mustafa from day one is going to be a guy. Pooty's going to be a guy. Garendo might be good. Pearsall might be good. We got some players, but we got some holes. And ignoring them for years and years and years is just making this team think, man, I might be able to make the center next year. Like,
well, I'm glad that you brought this up. I'm gonna mute you in between talking just because I'm getting a little bit of feedback, Jason. But I'm glad that you brought this up because somebody reached out to me today and said, "Hey, it's all fine. Like, we'll just turn our sights to next season. We'll be good again next year." And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I just don't see it that way. I think that we're a couple draft classes away. The money's gonna get super tight, and to me, they've drafted so bad up until this year, which I do think it was a good draft, but that's not enough to make up for all the other things. And because they haven't replaced their Trent Williams, and because they haven't gotten their center, and because they've got some aging players that are expensive that are going to cost money when they cut them for a couple years, I just don't see them coming back and being legit contenders. Now, could they sneak into the playoffs next year? Sure, I guess anything is possible. But as far as legit Super Bowl contenders, we're a few years away from that if everything goes their way.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's, by the way, Jason, that's assuming that Brock Purdy's the guy. Because if he's not the guy, then who knows how long this thing's going to take. And, even if you like Brock Purdy at this point, what if this injury keeps him out the rest of the year? I'm not saying it's going to, but just a few days ago, he was playing this Sunday. If he doesn't play this next Sunday and they lose to the Packers and the Bills, I could see a scenario where they'd shut him down. And then it's like, okay, well, in 2 of the 3 seasons you've been around, you couldn't even make it through the year. That's why they got rid of Jimmy, right?
This team is big on paying for that one-year wonder. Like, we paid Debo, he had one big year, and that hasn't panned out. Bosa's not worth his contract. Ayuk, TBD. McCaffrey, just paid him. He hasn't done anything. Like, we got so much money tied up in injuries, and we got so many free agents this year.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be – I'm ready for a regime change just because now is the time to do it. Bring in a new coach, pick the guys you want, get them back on a contract, and just build from whatever we got left. Because keeping Shanahan around one more year, he's going to pick and choose his people, and then whatever coach comes in after is going to be like, what do I do with this 35 and older club that can't play anymore and paid him $40
What do I do with this third-round kicker, huh? All right, Jason, I got to run, man. I got a few more people waiting backstage. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
Later. Well, you don't want this third-round kicker? Look at the value. You know how many good 3rd round running backs we drafted that we could totally bring back to this roster? I mean, I know that Debo is averaging less yards per carry than any player in the league that's taken handoffs, except for Trey Sermon, but we can get him back too. We drafted him in the 3rd round. All right. I'm going to bring on, it's going to be Niner Gang, Korean 49er, and then Brother Bob. Go to Niner Gang here. What's up, brother?
Jesse, how we doing, man?
Dude, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. All right. That's how I'm doing.
That's all you could do, man. Well, all I got to say is, damn, we tried. Gave it a good college try, and just didn't work out this year, man. I'm left with more questions than answers, which is not good because, to your last conversation a second ago, is Brock Purdy the guy? Three seasons, can't stay healthy. Kyle, is he the guy? Is Nick Bosa falling off? Is Debo washed? I mean, there's just so many questions. There's so much that has to change. And oh my goodness, man, it's going to be a rough next couple of years, bud. But hey, they don't call us the faithful for no reason, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's, we're not going anywhere. That's for sure. We're still going to root for this team, but it's there is a lot up in the air. There's a lot up in the air, like I said, I can see a scenario where Brock Purdy plays next week, and I could also see a scenario where he sits out just one more while they're trying to figure things out, and they lose, and then he's done. And it's like, well, where do you go from here? I don't know. And then also, what if just throw out this scenario? I don't think it's likely because I don't think Brandon Allen's that good. But what if Brandon Allen looks really good for 2 weeks while Brock Purdy's not there? What does that tell you? I mean, that gives you more questions than ever, right?
More questions on top of questions on top of questions with no answers.
It's just like, because again, it's not like Brandon Allen's the guy. I'm not trying to say that, but it's like, okay, well, Brock Purdy's been very shaky this year. He's had some good games and some down games. Things haven't looked right. The timing's been off. And it's like, well, if Brandon Allen comes in and lights it up for a couple weeks, then what the hell are we doing here?
I mean, I know Brock took a hit, and they say that he can't really remember when he got hit. Didn't the last game before the Seahawks game, didn't he throw like 40-something passes or close to 40? And prior to that, he's never thrown anything. I think it was like right around 30, 32 passes. I think he got a little bit over 40. Is it
against Tampa? I think. Yeah, I think that was the first time he'd gotten to 40. I think. Yeah.
Some arm fatigue. I mean, on top of getting hit. I mean, he looked a little off all season. It didn't seem right, even when he sparked for here and there, But with that being said, man, all I can say, brother, is it's been fun. It's been a fun 5 years. I ain't gonna lie. Kyle turned it around. You got to give him his credit for that. And to be honest, after hearing your argument, I do believe it was with Grant about why you would give Kyle one more year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, got more questions now because now I don't know how I feel because I was like, and then I hear your argument and I'm like, well, damn, that kind of makes sense. And, you got to give credit when credit's due. This is the NFL. They are all professionals. They're here for a reason. And to be fair, in all fairness, Kyle turned this regime around, man. And it's been fun, dude. I mean, I've enjoyed it, deep runs into the playoffs. I mean, it's not about playoffs wins in my opinion, in my book. I'm about the ring. But hey, it was fun, man. I don't know.
It was fun. And it does. I mean, it does kind of suck because it really does feel like it's coming to an end. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Crazier things have happened. I've been saying they were done since they lost to the Chiefs and they were 3-4 and that they should sell it. But also, what if something crazy happens and they somehow beat Green Bay and then everybody's able to come back the next week? Bosa's back. Trent, I don't know if he's even going to play this week, but if he does, maybe he's back. And then Purdy's back. Who knows? I'm not banking on that by any means, but I've seen crazier things happen.
No, for sure. Anything's possible. It's the NFL, but it just I just more leaning towards how the feeling of it. And it's just like felt off from the beginning, since the Super Bowl ended, it's been off, just with all the nonsense, the good and bads, There's been goods and there's been terrible things like, with Various Ward and Slick Rick, and all that stuff. There's just so many things that went bad this year that I think it's safe to say that, what, let's do our best. We're gonna give it the good old college try this weekend. Like you said, stranger things have happened, and and if it works out, then hey, let's keep pushing forward because that's what we do. But as soon as my opinion, like as soon as it's for sure you're done, there is zero chance you can go to the playoffs. Shut it down. I mean, just start making business decisions and go from there.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be said that they've made a lot of deep runs, and there's quite a few of the guys on this team that have been a part of multiple deep runs, and that's tough on your body. And so, yeah, I think the faster you can shut it down, assuming that it is over, which again, I've been saying this, but trying to be as optimistic as I can in this moment. But you're right. I think once it is time to shut it down and let these guys rest, and hopefully, the ones that do come back next year, they can come back reinvigorated, their body's healthy, all that stuff. Guys like Dre Greenlaw, I don't even know if they're going to keep Greenlaw long term, and that is the plan. I don't think I would let him play. I'm sure he's going to want to play, but I don't think I would let him play. If you're not going to bring him back, then sure, I guess let him showcase himself, and that would be the right thing to do. But yeah, there's just so many questions, man. There's so many questions. Who's going to be back? Who's not going to be? It's going to be a crazy offseason. I will say this, though. When you're in like a retool mode or a slight rebuild, that can be fun, too. A lot of conversations about who should stay, who should go, who should you sign, how do you manage the money, where are you drafting? Like, there is some excitement to come. It's just not in the form that we're used to seeing. And so now we've just got to pivot as fans.
Yeah, well, if you love the sport, man, you understand that you can't be good forever, right? And that's just the fact of the matter. So, and you look at the Niners in this past 5 years, I think when I checked last, they've accumulated almost a whole full season compared to the other teams. Okay, the difference between the Niners and Kansas City, though, why I believe they were able to do it again is because they have quite a bit of turnover on players. They have quite a bit of turnover on players, meaning like you see the way Kelsey slowed down. Patrick even looks a little bit off this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've made some deep runs as well. They got dang near a full season stat compared to all the other teams as well. But they have a lot of turnover as far as new players adding and then using all their new players versus the Niners. They've had the same 7-8 starters on offense and defense, for the past 4 or 5 years. That's made these deep runs. And then a couple of the guys have done 3 seasons with deep runs. So,
but they've won. That's the difference, right? Like it's different when you like keep getting swatted down at the very end, that's climbing up and getting swatted down. Yeah,
that's kind of why I feel like they won too. Though it feels like a play to just because they had fresh blood out there. They weren't, these guys are fresh coming in. Only got one appearance to a playoff game on the previous team, or they come over. Marquez Valdez-Scantling comes over there, wins the Super Bowl with them. Them guys just. I think that had a little bit to do with it, man. But dude, it's been fun, and it sucks we didn't get a freaking Super Bowl out of it, bro.
Oh, dude,
dude, it sucks, but I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. I love the sport. I'm gonna continue to watch it, and just like you said, man, it's time to pivot. I'm gonna enjoy the rebuild or whatever's coming, and go from there, man.
Absolutely, brother. Well, you're always optimistic. Appreciate you calling in, man. I got to get to the rest of these guys. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and hopefully I'll see you in the chat after the game on Sunday.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. Let's go. Dub City.
Yes, sir. Later, bro. Oh, man, he's always so positive. Love his energy no matter what. Okay, we're going to go to Korean 49er, Brother Bob, Jedi, Max, and Marcus. Although I saw a Drewish guy who was backstage, and now he's not, but he is super chatting. He says, I'll hop on one day, Jesse. Me catching you live and me being sober is hard math. All right, fair enough. And then he says, it's crazy. Kyle Shanahan will put faith in the first-year quarterback coach or a D coordinator or any assistant, but not the talented young players. That's a real take right there. I agree with that. That is interesting. All right, Korean 49er, here we go. What's up, man?
I'm good. How are you, Jesse?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Started my new job last week, so.
Hey, there we go. Let's go, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. A couple things to talk to you about. Sadly, the oldie but goodies of when D'Amico and Adam Peters went to their new organizations, they started fresh with the brand new starting quarterback. I mean, I believe they learned the mistakes of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan by establishing the starting quarterback, finding a new starting quarterback, and going from there. And we're seeing the results. Not to say we know what's going to happen with Jaden Daniels next year. CJ Stroud is, kind of struggling a little bit, not doing as great, but still looks like he's ascending and having a chance to go places.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud, I think, has all the tools for sure. And this happens a lot. Guys take a step back, and now he's got to readjust to the league. So we'll see how things go for him. But you're right, and it is interesting that you think about it. The two teams in back-to-back years that really shocked people were the Texans and now Washington. And both of those teams got ex-49ers front office members / coaches, and they went and got their quarterbacks right away. Both of them happened to hit, at least as rookies. We'll see what they are long term, but as rookies, they hit. And here they go. They're off and running, and both were in the playoffs the first year of their new quarterback, and it looks like the Texans are going to make it 2 straight years. So,
yeah, I mean, looks like D'Amico is going to be appears to be a capable coach. We'll see how many, in the future years, how he does and what his record may look like. But one thing I would say, Jesse, is Kyle is starting to look like the NFL is starting to stress him out. Because it's like he came in there with his hair was still very dark, was peppery. Now it's turned into a mix.
Yeah.
So I could say that the job has definitely gotten to him because I believe the league has caught up to him and he's not fooling anybody, or his schemes aren't working as they initially did for those first few years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that Kyle has a weird psychopath way about him that when these things happen to his quarterback, all of a sudden he wants to be a genius again. So don't be shocked if he's just in his bag this weekend for old Allen. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he looks like he's struggled for quite a few years. Maybe he's sipping on some whiskey late nights in the office. I don't know, but it's definitely wore on him like a presidential term for sure.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that. Do you remember when Steve Spurrier was the Redskins coach? I can't remember what coach he was in the NFL for those 2 years, and he kind of mocked Joe Gibbs and all those coaches having the cot in their office or somewhere nearby. It's like, if you're putting in consistent 90 to 100-hour weeks, it's going to be that's going to catch up with you at some point, because unless you're a Bill Parcells or a Joe Gibbs or even a Bill Walsh, your lifespan's at most 3 to 4 years if you're not at least contending for championships or winning a championship. I mean, I appreciate Kyle helping to bring the team back, but not getting the starting quarterback at the very beginning, or even at least in 2018, has set this franchise back. Nothing against Brock Purdy. He's a pawn. It's not his fault. He was drafted where he's at and had the injuries, when they happened. So.
No, and I don't think it's any of the players' fault. And I'll say this, he definitely went the wrong route in getting his quarterback, but he did try. I mean, they trade for Jimmy G. They sign him to the extension. He gets hurt. He's not the guy. They trade up for Trey Lance. They get him. They gave a big haul to go get him. He gets hurt. He's not the guy. Brock Purdy comes in, late round pick. They moved off their 3rd overall pick very, very quickly, faster than anybody's ever done something like that. Nobody's ever just given 4 starts and been like, all right, we're out. But he believed in Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy's played great, but we still, we're now 8 years in, and we don't know for sure if he's the guy. So what do you do when you're 8 years in and you don't for sure have your franchise quarterback? It's really hard to win in this league.
Yep. One last question before get to the next caller.
Yeah.
Is John Jones the best of all time in UFC? It's hard to say.
I don't think so. I can't get over the steroid stuff, man. The pissing hot a couple times against DC, man. It's hard for me to give him the GOAT status. You know what I mean? He is great. He is great, but GSP,
Mighty Mouse,
Khabib, obviously, Mighty Mouse deserves to be in the conversation.
GSP?
Khabib, GSP for sure. Yeah, GSP. Anderson. So I don't know. The other thing too is that I've always been a guy who likes the fighter's fighter. The guy who will literally take short notice fights, will fight anybody, any weight, doesn't care about losing. So I always like BJ Penn and Randy, Dan Henderson, Cormier, Conor McGregor, those types of fighters, because they're just down to fight. And I remember they had to cancel a whole UFC because John Jones wouldn't fight Chael Sonnen on short notice. Like, come on, dude. So I don't know, man. I can't go that route. And Dominator makes a great point. Fedor Emelianenko, obviously, we never saw him in the UFC, but as an MMA fighter, he's got to be up there too. So I don't know. He's great for sure. I just think there's too many iffies that would hold me back from giving him the for sure GOAT.
I was wondering about him testing hot those couple times. It's like, great fighter. I'm not going to say he's not, but do you see him taking the Aspinall fight?
Not if he's smart, he won't. I think Aspinall is going to run through him, man. He's younger, faster, bigger, stronger. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's a good matchup for John, but we'll see.
I can see that just because I know John's not getting any younger, and he's the next lion, young lion and male lion in line. So
yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jesse.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
Yep, you too.
Mirko Crocop, man. That's a throwback name. I love Mirko. What was it? Right leg hospital, left foot cemetery, or vice versa. That was his whole thing. Mirko Crocop, man. Mirko Crocop. All right, we're gonna go, Brother Bob, Jedi, Max, Marcus, and Dre. Here we go, Brother Bob.
Yo,
what's up, Brother Bob?
Man? How you doing?
Oh, come on, dude. Great.
All right, so I'm driving, but I had to call in because the last time you did me dirty, you wouldn't let me get that link, but it's all good. So
yeah, because you came in hella late and then you were asking for the link. Like, come on.
Late, bro. That's you. You're always late too. I had to be like you.
Late second sports.
That's right. All right, man. F all this. Let's get to business. First of all, I've been working, so I heard that Purdy's out, but did they give a diagnosis? What's wrong with his shoulder?
No, they didn't give a diagnosis.
Of course they won't. He's probably done for the year. But listen.
Yeah, probably.
Right? All right. Now, first, I heard you were talking to one of my guys, Bang Bang Niner Gang. Mm-hmm. What do you mean that you would keep Kyle Levy another year?
So I did a show with Grant and said it, and then I did a show with Sunil as well yesterday and said it. I think for multiple reasons, I would give Kyle another year. First of all, I mean, 4 NFC championships in 8 years. I think that warrants another year. But I think there's 2 other reasons. I think the bigger reason is optics to the rest of the coaches that you're trying to hire eventually. If Kyle Shanahan doesn't make the playoffs this year and they fire him, that's a really hard sell to an up-and-coming coach that he's going to be safe. And he's looking at it going, wait a minute, this guy is revered across the league. He went to 4 NFC championships and 2 Super Bowls, and you let him go after not making the playoffs when he went to an NFC championship and a Super Bowl in back-to-back years? I don't know that I would want that job.
Okay, what's your other reason?
And then the other reason is Brock Purdy. You don't know what he is yet, and I think if you want the best of the best, there's a good chance that new guy's not going to want Brock.
Got it. So, are you sure you're Jesse? You sound like Rob Fields Guerrero. Listen, my friend.
No.
Okay, well, that's what you sound like. Because, look, my brother, you and I have both had this conversation online as well as on the phone. You don't think we're going to win with Kyle Levy, right?
Correct.
All right. So you ripped the Band-Aid off. Aren't you the same guy that said you would have preferred to rebuild this year, but we didn't?
Correct.
So you rip the Band-Aid off. Now, what you're saying right now is the exact opposite. You're not ripping the Band-Aid off. This guy cannot win the Super Bowl on this team. And one of the reasons why he can't is we've talked about it. The quarterback. He cannot find a quarterback to save his life, nor can he properly coach and teach or train one. You left out the name that he first started with, C.J. Beathard. That was his first third-round draft pick.
So C.J. Beathard's a franchise quarterback, brother. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, he's better than Josh Allen, I know. So, but you get my point, man. You get my point. That we just have to rip the Band-Aid off. He's the problem. And keeping him, no matter what he's done, to me, all he's done is lose. That's why I call him Kyle Levy. Losing that big game is what sets you apart from everyone else. You can't do it. So why am I going to sit around and be like, oh, you might do it again? Yeah, and he's got it, Brock. Let's talk about Brock. Brock has been mid this year. Right? He's got some plays where he's looked like trash and some plays that look great. That's mid. That's the definition of mid. So you're not going to pay him, or you shouldn't pay him 50, 60 million to be mid just because Dak got 60 million in Dallas being mid, right? So why do you want to sit around and I don't want to stick another coach with that. I would say coaches around the league would say, hey, man, they gave this guy 8 years and he choked twice in the big game the same way, choked. So don't turn into Rob Fields Guerrero on me. Let's do what you said at the beginning of the season. Rip the Band-Aid off, rebuild, and it starts with the coach. By the way, the same guy who can't be a great GM. So, you know, his draft picks, we joke about Moody, but that was a terrible third-round draft pick. Then he turns around with not just, I mean, what was a Hurd? Jalen Hurd. Then we had TDP. Then we had, well, not in the right order, Sermon, TDP, yeah. So, yeah, man, he's the problem. You know, Joe Wilson, or not Wilson, Williams. I mean, this is bad. And so we need to just move on. And I will never get, I'm sorry, this whole Trey Lance thing. You know what? I didn't want Trey Lance. Let's make this clear. I don't care what PP says with his ignorant ass. But my point is, because my dumb ass wanted, I said Justin Fields. Thank God we didn't go that route either. But the point is,
there wasn't a right choice in that draft, unfortunately. But go ahead, yeah.
Right, exactly, right. But the point is, you invest all that capital, and like you just said, you spend 4 games on them because you don't know how to groom a quarterback, right? So now you give them up, and it's 3 first rounds and a third round. That was a kicker. People forget there was a third round thrown in for them for a 4th round. I mean, come on, man. Like, this is ridiculous. You don't know what to do with a quarterback. Oh, and let's not forget, he didn't really even scout Mahomes. So I think he's the problem. Why don't you rip the Band-Aid off with him? I just want to hear. Why not? Tell Brother Bob, what is Brother Bob missing when you don't want to rip the Band-Aid off? You want to get in your feels now. Oh, we've been to these 4 games and lost them. Oh, great.
First of all, I don't like Kyle Shanahan personally, right? But I'm trying to remove what I think personally versus what I've actually seen. And the other thing is this. I would love to rebuild and retool. I would have loved to have done it this last offseason when I said to do it right after the Super Bowl. But the problem is the 49ers are not going to do that. So if that's the case, instead of keeping this same old team around and forcing somebody else to come in and take it over and follow this ship all the way down until it sinks to the ocean floor, why not just make Kyle ride it out? Bro, you're in it. Ride it out for 1 more year. That gives us a full nother look at Purdy. You probably ain't going to do good next year, and then we can properly move on from you, cut ties, and get whoever we're going to get without anybody looking at us sideways across the league. That's the way that I see it. Okay. If they were willing to do what I said, sure, but they're not going to do that.
Okay, see, now this is how we're in agreement, because that's what I said to you when they brought back that idiot juice check, right? I said, well, we're running it back. And my problem is, then they dilly-dallied with BA. And by the way, side note here, I know BA didn't start off that well, but remember the reason why I kept saying resign, and I know you were in agreement with me to resign BA, but do it quickly, because he's Purdy's best target. He had the most receptions last year. People forget that. Most yards. So without that weapon, there's a problem. But anyway, let me not digress. So yes, my brother, that's my thing. They are not going to do it, but that's what they should do. They should rip the Band-Aid out. I don't want to have another year of how I feel now. When the Niners play, and I'm a diehard fan, you know this. I keep saying it. I spent all this damn money to go to the Super Bowl, my wife and I, to see an L. I did get to meet Jerry Rice. But my point is, I don't even like get up for the games anymore. I don't get hype, and I expect us to lose because we got an idiot coach that will throw when he should run. You know, we'll go for a long field goal with a shaky ass kicker, and we'll just do dumb things repeatedly. So that's why I say, oh, sorry, I'm parking, but that's why I say, my brother, it's time to rip it off now. Just rip it off. Restart what you said last year in the offseason. Just do it this year. Start all over. Buy Purdy, you know, buy Trent. But the problem is with Trent, you just gave him more money. You just gave CMC.
Oh, what the hell? All right. Well, we lost Brother Bob. I was about to cut him anyways. I was about to cut you anyways, Brother Bob. I see what you're saying, man. I really do. And listen, the problem is that because the 49ers didn't go with the plan that I laid out, and then again, they decided not to do it at the trade deadline, they're not going to be legitimately competitive, Super Bowl competitive, in my opinion, until 2027. Like, that is the next best chance that they have. That was the whole reason why I wanted to do it this year, because I knew they weren't going to win a Super Bowl. Now, I didn't think it would be this bad by any means, but I knew they weren't going to win a Super Bowl. And the longer you hang on, the further you're pushing everything down the road, the rebuild down the road, the retool down the road. Because now what's going to happen is if you cut the Deebo Samuels and you cut the Juices and the Hargraves and all these guys this next offseason, which I'm not even sold they're going to do that, but let's say they do, that money bleeds into the 2026 season. So that means 2025 and 2026 you're taking hits. How are you supposed to compete when you've got all this money tied up into guys that aren't even on your roster anymore? So that's the problem. If you had done it this year, it would be this year and next year. And then 2026, you're right there with a bunch of money. Hopefully you drafted good again in 25 and 26, and you're off and running. But now that gets pushed back to 2027, in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right about that, but that's the way that I see it from the outside looking in. Unless they just hit on every draft pick, which is so unrealistic, I don't see it happening earlier based off of them trying to run it back for another year. And why make a new coach eat one of those years? You want him to start fresh when the cap's clean. A lot of these aging players are off the roster. Make Kyle go down with the sinking ship. Then bring somebody else in. What's up, Jedi?
Hey, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so, Jesse, I agree with you. I actually agree with you. I think we should hold on to Kyle for one more year, but I think my suggestion would be to the front office is you should start laying the seeds for the change with the general manager spot. You should fire John Lynch, and you should go get a general manager that not only you can feel runs the draft, but might have, a little cachet around the league to go get you a young coach when you are ready to, or if that general manager feels like it's time for us to move on, you have someone already in place to go get that guy that might feel comfortable working with that general manager. You already have that general manager who've had a year to evaluate Purdy to make the decision. Okay, do we pay this guy now? Because now you got somebody in the spot to say, I'm not inclined to pay him right now, so I'll wait this one more year and we'll just wait this thing out. At the same time, you can start putting those new eyes on the roster and those new eyes in the draft that can bring you in some new bodies and some new ideas for Kyle. And maybe Kyle fixes it. Maybe Kyle, like you just said, goes down with the ship. But at least you started to plant these seeds that if you have to move on from Kyle after the end of next season, you have a general manager already in spot who the league has a little reverence for, who can bring you in a young coach or someone who's the next hot OC that's coming out. You can bring him in. You've already started the first layer of the foundation building with his sights on the draft. He could come in, maybe give his ideas about what quarterback you want to move on from once you actually see that draft that's coming up. And now you've already started that rebuilding process. I think someone's going to have to go. I think we can all agree we don't want the same eyes going into the next draft, scouting these next draft picks.
I agree with that. And I always said, and we'll see if it happens this offseason, but I always said, you'll know when Shanahan's on the hot seat when John Lynch gets fired. That's usually what happens. Like one or the other goes, and then the other one's on the hot seat. Because if you fail again, it's like, okay, well, clearly you were part of the problem. You got to go too. So if John gets fired this offseason, which a lot of people aren't talking about that. Everybody's pointing their sights at Kyle. Kyle's not going anywhere.
Jesse, I'm trying to tell you, that's the guy. To me, it's best of both worlds. It's best for the Yorks. Like you said, it gives them the shield to say, we didn't just kick this guy out. He did all this stuff on it. Listen, we went and got him a new set of eyes because what they were doing did not work. We have history. They have a resume. First round picks gone with Trey Lance. First round picks missed. All this stuff. We're going to get a new set of eyes. We're going to bring them in for Kyle. And if he wins with these dudes, then it's great for us. And we did the right thing. If he goes down, hey, we did. Hey, man, we did everything possible. We let him have his guys. We let them pick. They did 8 years of doing whatever they wanted to do. Then we did what we thought was smart, which is bring in some new eyes, help him out, and he still couldn't win. Hey, man, we moving on. You can't get mad at us. And now you've planted the seeds to already start that roster building the first year of the first GM, this new GM coming in with Kyle, and you can exit Kyle stage right if he fails this next season coming up.
Yeah, I'm with it. I think that's a great plan. And again, I just don't know. I don't know if Jed has the balls to do it, man. We'll see. I'm curious, but somebody does have to go. I agree.
I think that's it, man. But yeah, that's my only thing. I mean, I guess my only question to you would be, what other than a general manager change, what other position could they bring in to say, okay, this position has cachet over everyone? Is it like player personnel? Like what position would say, okay, now this guy overranks you and you, John, and you go to him, and then, this is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, I don't know that exists.
Yeah,
unless they get rid of Parag or something like that. But Kyle's ultimately the shot caller. But if you just go to him and say, hey, listen, man, we think you're a great coach, Kyle. Obviously, things haven't gone the way that we've expected. You've done a fantastic job. We've been to 4 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowls. And we think that it would be best if we just take a little off your plate so you can focus on being the great coach that you are. And we're going to bring in somebody that's going to handle the roster. So this is the new roster guy. Enter GM whoever. And then now GM whoever can evaluate Kyle for a year. And that's what I'm telling him behind the scenes. Hey, listen, new GM, evaluate Kyle. Evaluate this roster. At the end of the year, we'll sit down and we'll figure out what we're going to do. But ultimately, it's your decision. We're turning the keys over to you.
And to all the fans that are like, we need to get rid of Kyle. You still might get rid of Kyle. Like, no one's saying the new GM is going to support Kyle. He might say, you know what? Yeah, Kyle's got to go. You have to change something. You cannot go into another draft. I mean,
that's the only way that you can take power away from Kyle, because right now he has power over John Lynch. And you can't just be like, all right, now John's the boss. No, that's not how that works. You're going to have to get rid of John, bring in somebody to come over the top of Kyle.
That's it. That's the only way, and that's the only fair way to actually do everyone justice, the fans, the team, going forward in the future. I don't see another path. But thank you, Jesse.
Yeah. All right, Jedi. Great plan, man. Great plan. Great plan. All right, we're going to go to Max, Marcus, and then Dre. Actually, let me get to these super chats just real quick. Cryptic says, Purdy does do a poor job of protecting himself, doesn't slide and goes head first. 2 years of no playing it risky for Greenlaw. Super Bowl and Levi 26. Can the Niners do like the Rams and the Bucks? I was really hoping. I think they could have if they had sold this year. Now I think 2027 is probably the year. Instead of crapping on you, hang in there, Jess. Here it go. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Brother Bob says, Marco, I'm gonna call you and cuss you out after. All right. Perfect, man. Perfect. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay. Good time. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna call an audible. Max, I hope you're okay with this. Marcus has been waiting for a while as well. He's got something he's got to do. I'm gonna give him his 5 and then I'll bring you in, Max. If you need a couple more minutes, Max, I'll give you a couple more minutes just to get your takes off since I'm gonna push you back. Hopefully you're good with that. Marcus, I'm gonna bring you in next. What's up, Marcus?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
It's good, man. Doing all right. Thanks for pushing me up. Thanks, Max. I got to do this headset. It's gonna like echo. It's funny.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. So first thing, just want to say appreciate what you do, man. Everything how honest you are, the just realistic and just open to different perspective, and it goes
Thanks,
a long
man.
way. And I mean, other creators, they do what they do, whether it be confronting Kyle in the presser the way he maybe should be. But yeah, so much respect there.
Thank you,
So
man.
yeah, for sure. I'll always be an optimistic fan. And listen, I was like super pumped, and then hearing your side, and then Brother Bob, it's just everyone's so down on it, and I get it. But there's still a chance. Very small, probably what 12% at best. But it's so I'm gonna kind of change it up a little bit from what I
Yeah.
texted
Do
you,
it.
but just how do you think they win against Green Bay? Just kind of change the dynamic of the
Yeah.
conversation, right? I think you think it's going to be cold, like 28 degrees there. You got to run on him, got to establish that. But I don't really follow Brandon Allen. I don't know who does, but like
Wait, you're not a Brandon Allen expert? Come on, man.
Not today. Maybe I will be after he throws for 250, at
Yeah.
best, yeah. But I think it's gonna be cold. I think you're gonna have to run. It's gonna be a close game, I think, or maybe that's just me being optimistic. But
Yeah.
how do you see us winning this game, especially with the injuries and all that?
Yeah, I think. Well, hopefully, Trent has to play if they've got a shot, in my opinion. And I think Trent's going to do everything he can to be out there. He was last week, so hopefully that he can get out there again. But assuming he does, I agree with you. Everything's going to have to be short, intermediate, right in front of you. And they kind of have to get back to the old school style, which is they got to stretch Green Bay out horizontally. Right now, Green Bay is going to be without Jair Alexander, who's their best corner. And they're going to be without their middle linebacker, who's been an absolute stud this year. And without those two, I think that we can really, really, really make this defense run sideline to sideline, wear them out, and put up points on them. I do, even with Allen at quarterback. But you got to make it easy on them. And we've been so frustrated that they're not playing Mason. They have to get Mason inserted into this lineup. They got to try to run the ball 35 times this game if they can. That is the path to victory. You got to keep the ball out of Jordan Love's hands. You got to move the sticks repeatedly. You got to give nice, easy reads to Allen. And then as long as he doesn't make any mistakes and you're giving him those easy reads and allowing him to build some confidence, I think anything's possible. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice. Wish we could just like do a Madden game of it and make it come to life, but it's not realistic. Yeah, man, I'm hopeful. Even if you do somehow find a way to win, you gotta have a lot go your way, like you were saying, and it's very unrealistic. So if you do lose these two, and then you gotta fast forward to what next season looks like, right? And you pretty much covered your perspective. I have a positive take, unrealistic, but just want to throw it at you.
Yeah, for sure.
Brock Purdy's probably going to get his money, right? But with him being such a good dude and caring more about life and football, do you think it's possible? I guess anything's possible, but do you think it's probable that he could take a heavenly discount, if you will, or something. Whether it be like what Baker's making, I mean that's a lot too, but I guess could he?
It's
Could he take
doable
it?
though.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's doable as far as if you want to compete. I'll say this. I will say this. In a funny way, if he is injured and he misses these next couple games and they miss the playoffs, they can easily go to him and be like, hey, man, listen, this is 2 years. And even the 1 year that you were quote unquote healthy, you had multiple stingers, you had a concussion, possibly 2. Only they know that. Sure did feel like he got 2 the way his head hit on the turf, but you've been injured every single year. And that costs us 2 runs. We want to sign you, but we can't give you that big of a deal if you can't stay healthy. So we got 2 options, man. We can give you a short-term deal that'll allow you to prove it, but also allow you to make a lot more money over the next couple years while you are proving it. We'll give you like a 2-year, $90 million deal type of thing. Or you can play out this next year and prove it. And we'll figure it out from there. Maybe he would be willing to do something like that. That is possible. I think he loses leverage if this injury lingers. The more weeks he misses due to injury, the more leverage the 49ers have in a negotiation. That is factual.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much. I have more, but I'll let Max get his time, and I appreciate it. But I'll leave.
You playing Hold'em? You playing Hold'em, or what?
So somebody just invited me to play at 9:30 or 9:30 my time. I'm by St. Louis, so. But yeah, no, I appreciate it, man, and just hopeful. I'll never give up faith. I find the hard to balance the being realistic and all that. So, but no,
being
I
a fan
it,
and all that. Yeah, for sure. Hey, thanks for you're the reason this show's going today. Just so thank Marcus. He DM'd me, was like, hey man, what time's your show? I'm like, what show? He's like, oh, I thought you had one. I'm like, all right, now I'm gonna do a show, Marcus. Thanks.
I thought I saw something posted, but maybe I just willed it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You just see, look at your positivity, made it happen, man. All right, man. Good luck in your poker game.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, later. Yeah, you can thank Marcus for that one. All right, we're gonna go Max, Joseph, and then Dre. What's up, Max?
What's up, Jesse?
Hey, thanks for being patient there. I really appreciate it.
For sure. So I want to get into my take on Brock Purdy.
Okay.
So I feel like the 49ers, they kind of have 2 options. Either you have to pay him a lot of money, and the thing is, Purdy is a good quarterback, but he's not like elite. I wouldn't say so. Even last year when he was in like the MVP discussion, the only reason why I feel like he is because the other quarterbacks like Allen and Mahomes were having down years. So either you have to pay him the money or you can trade him. But if you trade him, you're trading a guy who I think at worst is like still a top 15 quarterback in the league. And then you'd have to find a guy, who might not be as good as Purdy. So either that or you have to pay him. And then you're going to have to bank on hitting the draft like you did this year in 2024. So I think either way, they're in a tough situation with Purdy and what to do with it.
Yeah, I think they're in a tough situation. But like I said, this injury thing, every week he misses, it makes it easier and easier to give him less and less money. So maybe a blessing in disguise in a season that was likely already lost.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like, if Brandon Allen, like, if he plays these next 2 weeks and he somehow beat the Packers and then against the Bills, like, they lose, but he put up, like, a respectable performance, that could hurt Purdy's, like, negotiations.
Oh, yeah, 100% it would, yes. Brandon Allen? Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so, and one more thing, like, you mentioned the 49ers should have probably started, the rebuild or retool this offseason, and I agree. I mean, I think an example of a team doing this was the Chiefs after they lost to the Bengals in the 2021 AFC Championship game. In 2022, in the offseason, they traded Tyreek Hill, and I don't know if the 49ers would have done something like that if they were in the Chiefs' position.
No, they wouldn't have, because we just saw it happen this offseason with a lesser player, right?
Right, yeah, and Ayuk, they paid him. and you know, and keeping guys, you know, like Juszczyk and Debo. I mean, they're probably gonna have to get rid of some of those guys. You know, I know they're veterans, but they're not as good as they used to be. Especially Debo. He's regressed a lot since 2021.
Yeah. I mean, 2021 was a big year for both those receivers, and they've slid back a little bit. But you know, I think a lot of it too has to do with Kyle. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen like Debo. We haven't seen the best of play from him for a few years. Ayuk, you know, as much as I love him, he's only had 9 100-yard receiving games in the last 3 years. So yeah, it's not like he's been elite.
Yeah, I mean, Ayuk's best season was, I would say 2023 with Purdy. He was elite that.
It was.
And another thing, when it comes to Kyle Shanahan, listen, I agree with your take. I think he deserves at least one more year here because of his past success, going to 4 out of 5 conference championship games. But realistically, and like, this is not even what the fans want, but like, this is about kind of Jed York. When realistically do you think Jed York would be willing to fire Kyle Shanahan? Because I think personally, if they miss the playoffs this year at like 8-9 or 9-8, and then next year they have a down year and win like 7 games, I think then he might be willing to fire Kyle Shanahan. But like, I'm curious, when do you think, what would be the tipping point for Jed York?
I don't know why I get like a Marvin Lewis vibe from Kyle Shanahan in this situation where he just has as long as he wants, it feels like. I would hope the tipping point would be 2 years in a row, not making the playoffs, but I can't say for sure, man. I feel like York really loves Kyle. Like genuinely loves that guy.
That is
so
true,
I don't know, man.
But if he misses the playoffs 2 years in a row, then that would mean by 2026, the last playoff game they would have played would have been this past Super Bowl against the Chiefs, which would be 3 years ago then by that point. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think he might be willing to fire Shanahan after 2025 if they miss the playoffs this year or next. But that's all I wanted to say. And thanks, Jesse, for having me on, and keep up the great work. Love your channel.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Max. Later. No, guys, that wasn't. Everybody said it. I thought it was Vish. It wasn't Vish. Maybe Max was doing a Vish impression, but no, that was not Vish. That's funny. Lauren says, "Who's Kyle's boss?" The owner of the team. The owner of the team, basically, is Kyle's boss. Brother Bob says, "It's not negative if it's true. It's just reality." I don't remember. I don't even know what you're talking about. Chill out, y'all. It wasn't Vish. All right, we got Joseph, Dre, Jeff, and then please start Dobbs. Sorry, bud. I don't know that that's going to happen. What's up, Joseph? I think you're muted. Right down below, there should be like, it should say like mute, stop cam, settings. Make sure that mute's not there. Go. I'm gonna pull you off stage. Go into your settings and make sure you can test your mic. All right. So you do that, and then I'll go to Dre, and then I'll come back to you. All right, Dre. Here we go, man. What's up, Dre?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I've been on the road for 6 weeks, but I'm headed home for Thanksgiving, man, to be with the family for a week, man. So,
really hey, good. That's a blessing, man. That's a blessing. Good. You a long like a cross country long trailer driver?
Or yeah, I'm a long haul driver, man, from coast to coast, state to state, moving freight, brother.
Man, you make good money, but that's a tough gig.
Yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, man. Can we? I just want to let's just think about this.
Okay, let's do it.
If Kyle Shanahan goes, who in the hell is going to replace him? Let's just be real. Teams all across the league would line up and beg to hire Kyle Shanahan. So let's just stop it. I think that as fans, we have just gotten complacent and like we're spoiled fucking brats. We're living off the 90s, bro. This is not the 90s, bro. This is 2024. Like, Kyle Shanahan isn't going nowhere. Let's just get over it. Jed is not going to fire him. He's not going nowhere. Same thing with John Lynch. It's just not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to get off of that, bro, because any team in the league would beg to have Kyle Shanahan as the head coach right now. So it's just like, let's get over that. Now, as far as his coaching techniques, I think Kyle needs to get out of his own way. He gets in his own way. As far as like with the whole Brandon Allen thing, we've seen a sample size in preseason who's better. We know Josh Dobbs is better. And and the thing about it is, you would have to use a defender to basically spy him the entire game. So what does that do? That opens up things in the middle of the field and on the backside of the defense. And I could literally see him starting Josh Dobbs and we rip off a couple of wins, and then there will be a thing like, well, do we go back to Purdy? And I think Kyle Shanahan knows that, and he doesn't want to have to go through that shit. That's why he's starting Brandon Allen. He doesn't want it to be. He want it to be a quarterback controversy, because I'm telling you guys, people who say whatever they want about Josh Dobbs, he gives defenses problems. He gives defenses problems, bro. And there's just some things that you have to account for with Josh Dobbs that you don't have to account for with Purdy. And that's his running ability. And he would definitely give this offense a jolt that it needs, bro. Our offense just looks bland and it looks dead. And I think that Josh Dobbs would definitely, revitalize this offense a bit. But Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to do that. But the good thing about that. Yeah. Nah, he's not going to do that. He's going to start Brandon Allen. But I hope Brandon Allen is so bad to where he has to put Josh Dobbs in. And I guarantee you it gives this offense a jolt. And I think that this game is going to force Kyle Shanahan to get Mason more carries. Mason,
I hope so. I hope so.
Like Mason hasn't even played the last 3 games, bro, and I think he's still top 10 in the league in fucking rushing yards. It's like,
that's so bad,
bro. Like, what are we doing, Kyle? Like, Mason, I don't care what Christian McCaffrey says. Like, get in your feelings, get butthurt or whatever the case may be. This kid is going to get 10 to 13 carries a game, Christian. I don't give a fuck about your feelings, because it's going to make the team better. I mean, in the years where we had Jeff Wilson Jr., we had Moser, and then we had Malcolm. It's just a better offense, bro. Like, he has to split carries. Christian McCaffrey can't have 20, 25 carries no more. Both of those guys need to be in the game. Mason is just too good to be on the bench, bro. He needs more carries than 3 carries a game.
I don't disagree with that, but man, talk to your boy Kyle, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't see it.
Yeah, I just it's just to be that good of an offensive scheme coach and to not use all of your weapons, man. That's just the most frustrating thing with Kyle Shanahan, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's extremely frustrating. But I'm still not that guy that's gonna say, "Oh, we need to fire Kyle Shanahan." No, hell no. Because there's nobody else. Who else out there? Like, can you name one guy that could replace Kyle Shanahan, bro? Like, let's just be real. One guy.
I mean, there's multiple guys that I could give you. I don't know how realistic any of them are, but you got Ben Johnson, you got Bill Belichick, you've got
Bill ain't coming back to the league. Come on, bro.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think he wants to coach. I just don't think he wants to go to the West Coast. I think he likes, I look at if Cincy had an opening or if Philly somehow had an opening. Brian Flores is another guy that I would love to have. But no, I mean, realistically, I agree with you. And that's why I said, I'm not going to start a fire Kyle train until next year if they're having a down year again, because it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. Right. But if they playoffs 2 years in a row, man, we need to have a talk, a real serious talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, down 2 years, especially with this type of talent. But it's just, as far as right now, it's come on, guys. We're literally, a muff punt, a punt return in the Vikings game that basically gave up that game, another punt return in the Cardinals game that gave them good field advantage, and then, a missed field goal in the Rams game. Bro, we'd be an 8-2 team right now. So I know it's hard to, talk about that and but it's just like we have to look at, what happened in all of the games that we lost, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but we have to do that both ways though. And to be fair, Dre, we could also be 3-7 right now. That's also very realistic. If Seattle the first time when they got the ball and had a chance to take the lead instead of Geno throwing his usual pick, if he had done some crazy crap like he did this last week, that was another loss. If Dak doesn't Dak, I mean, we gave Dallas a chance. They could have easily come back. You know what I mean?
We did. Yeah.
So we could be 3-7 too.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, bro. Yeah. All right, bro, man. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Hope you and the family is all good, man. And as a fan base, bro, let's just look what Kyle Shanahan has did with this franchise, bro. Let's just cut him some slack as a fan base. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been on the high side of things for a couple of years now. I mean, you look at the Detroit Lions right now. The Detroit Lions is literally who we were like these last couple of years right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's just let's just give Kyle some slack, bro, and realize that, there's some things that's going on within the franchise that, it's just the player personnel. We can't put everything on Kyle. We can't,
I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna let you go and answer that. First of all, though, I do want to say, get home safely, man. Enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family. Hug your kids, hug your wife, and take care, brother. I really appreciate you calling in. All right.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, man. I disagree. We should blame him for everything. Like, we have to. He's the head coach. And I think this has kind of been my conversation all week, which is when Kyle Shanahan is evaluated, he's evaluated like an offensive coordinator. And he's not just the offensive coordinator of this team. He is the end all be all. He's the last say. He's the one that builds the roster. He gets final say in all that. He's the one that does the personnel groupings. He's the one that hires all the coaches. So for better or for worse, I feel like when he does things that are good, like roster building, and he has done a good job, I think for the most part there, or he does hire back-to-back good defensive coordinators, that's Kyle. But when it doesn't go well, that's also Kyle. So he deserves more credit than what he gets, I think, when things are going well. And I think he deserves more blame than what he gets when things aren't going well. And then I'll throw this out there as well. I said it on yesterday's show, but I'll repeat it for anybody that may not have heard it. I think Kyle, the reason that people come for his neck every chance they get when he's failing is because Kyle puts a wedge between the team and the fans. Remember when Harbaugh was the coach and the who's got it better than us? And whenever the media was out there, he knew what he was doing. He knew that when the media was out there, he wasn't just talking to the media. The media is asking questions that the fans have, and he's addressing the fans. And a lot of people, myself included, really felt like when Harbaugh was here, like we, the fan base, were a part of things. He welcomed us with open arms. Kyle's the exact opposite of that. He doesn't look at the media like an extension of the fans. He's got a thing heading over the locker room that says, basically, team stays here. It's us versus everybody. F everybody. Like that's his mentality. And that's the way he carries himself. When he gets in front of the media and he acts smug to ex-media member and makes fun of them for asking a stupid question like, oh, you mean cover 2? Oh, are we talking cover 2 or cover 4? Oh, idiot. And he does this. That's him talking to the fans. And a lot of fans look at him and be like, God, dude, like, yeah, I would have loved to have heard your answer on that. But you want to be a jerk about it. So guess what? F you. So that I really feel like that is a big part of it. It's not that he's not a good coach, but he doesn't welcome the fans. He doesn't put his arm around the fan base the way that I think Harbaugh did. And I think that that's frustrating for people. I really do. That's the way a lot of people feel. So he has to own that. That's his own smug attitude. Now, again, I'm not saying fire Kyle, but right now, when people are at his neck, you have to understand why. And it's completely reasonable that people would feel that way. All right, we're gonna go Jeff, Joseph, and then level 7 here. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, how you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll make it somewhat short. I've been a Shanahan fan, or I've defended him the last couple of years, but some of the stuff is inexcusable at this point. Like I don't understand how anybody can defend him anymore. Like, I mean, the Seahawks game, that was totally on him. We had that game in the bag against a divisional opponent that we've owned the last couple of years. Not because of Shanahan, by the way, because of Brock, because he's just been, playing incredible against them. You have the lead with like just above 2 minutes left to go. The Hawks only have one timeout left. It's 2nd and long, and you choose to throw the ball. Like, bro, just run the ball right there. Get it down to the 2-minute warning. I think on that drive, you were averaging like 4 or 5 yards a carry. You pick up a first down. The clock runs out. You win the game. But instead, the thing about Kyle, man, he doesn't meet the moment. He's aggressive when he needs to be conservative, and he's conservative when he needs to be aggressive. Like, I just don't understand how anybody can defend him anymore. Like, we had that game in the bag, and this is 3 times this year. We had a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter, and he blows it. Like, he blew the Super Bowl. He's blown so many games just because of, like, simple things as in terms of clock management. And that's just like, there's so many coaches that if they had one moment like that, yeah, they're gone. Like, they are gone. And this guy continues and continues to get so many like excuses, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that 2 things can be true, right? One, which I said, which is they shouldn't fire him yet, right? For multiple reasons. But people really go through crazy lengths to defend Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy too, both of them. They will make every excuse in the book, man. The offense can score 13 points a week, every single week, and you'll hear every excuse under the sun. Oh, I mean, we lost the game because the defense just couldn't hold them to 12.
Yeah.
We lost damn offensive line again. It's like, well, the offensive line's actually playing good by every statistical measure. And when you watch the tape, nah, man, he can't even hold the ball for more than a second and a half before it's like, come on, man. At some point, when the offense isn't living up to expectation and the team's not living up to expectation,
right.
Arguably the 2 most important places on a team are head coach and quarterback, but somehow they always skirt by with no blame, none whatsoever. It's everybody else every time. You know what I would tell my kid if he's in relationship after relationship after relationship and he's like, God, Dad, I mean, this girl left me because I didn't have enough money, or this girl left me because, and it's just all these excuses as to why. It's like, at some point, son, man, like, you're the problem. It's you.
Right.
Like, you can't keep a steady girl. At some point, it's on you, my man. And that's the way that I look at Kyle and Brock. Doesn't mean that you have to go to extremes and fire them or whatever, but we can't even hold them accountable in some people's eyes. Come on, man.
And the thing that you said that was spot on when I heard it, I'm like, dude, this dude's like this video, every 49er fan needs to hear this. You got to look at Kyle as the head coach and not the offensive coordinator. Like, anybody can call great plays, but if you're the head coach, you're responsible for everything. And the guy is not good at clock management. He's not. He's one of the worst head coaches in the league at clock management, because he's had games in his bag, right in his hand, and every time it's like he does the exact opposite thing of what you need to do. Like, seriously, you win the coin toss in the Super Bowl and you choose to start with the ball? What are you doing? Like, that's absurd. That's absurd, dude. And then he doubles down on it and sends Jake Moody out there to kick the field goal and gives the ball back to Mahomes with only being up by 3. Like, what are you doing?
He does some things that just, they don't make a lot of sense. Like, he'll get the ball with a minute and a half left before the half with multiple timeouts, and he'll ease into the drive. And I'm just going for a field goal. And then last week he gets the ball with like 24 seconds left inside his own 25, and he's like, pedal to the middle, we're throwing downfield. It's like, dude, the best that's going to happen is you don't turn the ball over. Why are you doing this right now? What if Brock gets a pick six and the game ends at halftime basically because you wanted to do something stupid? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I really, truly feel that he doesn't have a great feel for the game. And when you go to games, anybody, I challenge anybody, go to a game, watch Kyle Shanahan. You won't see anything other than play sheet,
Head of the play sheet,
face in the play sheet the whole time. He doesn't talk to anybody.
Even when a
He
guy's
doesn't
hurt on the
interact
field.
with anybody. Nothing, bro. He's in the play sheet. How can you have a feel for a game when you're looking at a tablet and a play sheet 95% of it?
Yeah. Even when a dude's hurt on the field, he'll look up for like a second and then look right back at his play sheet. It's like, dude, come on. Like, at least
because he's looking at it going, well, shoot, now Debo's out. How do I? All right, well, now I got to scheme around this, and it's like, dude, come on, man, show some compassion, please.
And I mean, the fact that I looked up a stat today, Brock Purdy's leading the team in rushing touchdowns, like more than McCaffrey, Mason, Garendo. Which, don't get me wrong, like, I love Purdy. I think his running ability is starting to become one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the league, but he's only got 5 rushing touchdowns. Why is Kyle not using Jordan Mason, a 230-pound back, in the red zone, or Isaac Garendo? Like, it just makes no sense. The dude led the league in rushing for like multiple weeks. McCaffrey comes back and he's clearly not what he was last year, and he's not giving Mason even a look. Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm with it. Again, super frustrated with a lot of things that Kyle does. I get more frustrated with the fan base that's just not willing to hold him accountable. But ultimately, again, I've made the case of why I think he should stick around for one more year. But after that, man, it's all bets are off. You don't make the playoffs again, or you go and lose in the wild card or something, like, hit the road, Jack. I'm good.
And here's the last thing I'll say. I think the people that are like, well, who do you replace him with? It's like, there's a lot of options. I mean, there's Ben Johnson. The guy that I would really want to hire is Steve Spagnuolo, because you take something away from the Chiefs.
Another one, I forgot about him.
If you want to have a chance to beat the Chiefs, we got to start thinking about ways to take stuff from them. And I think Spags has been easily the best defensive coordinator we've seen, at least in my generation. And I mean, he's been a head coach before, didn't have much success at it, but he's learned. I mean, it's a thought. I mean, and I think there's a lot of coaches that would have already won a Super Bowl with this roster. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree. All right, Jeff. Hey, man, that was a really good call. The chat's loving you. Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good night.
You too, man. That was a good call. Joseph, I'll get to you in a second, and then level 7, I'll get to you. I'm glad you called in level 7. We like 2 ships passing in the night, I feel like. Video Game Sports says Lyle is still going to have nightmares about Gino when he's watching the Hawks playoff game in a Cancun hotel room. Here's the issue with this, Video Game Sports. Kyle goes to Cabo. He doesn't go to Cancun. So joke's on you, pal. Brother Bob says, so Kyle Levy still starts a lesser QB, but he's a good head coach. All right, calm down. Marcus says, thanks again for having me on. I appreciate you, Marcus. I feel the retool is realistic. If Purdy takes lower money, he wants to win. That's the path. Invest in the O-line, center specifically. His best value is his price. Go Niners. My mom is a diehard Green Bay fan, so we gotta win, man. I don't know that it's gonna happen for you, Marcus, but maybe. Brother Bob says Kyle Levy won't play Mason, but he's a great head coach. Lauren, there's more, but I'll get to Joseph after this one. Lauren says Bosa skipping Sunday, more to it than can't have my oblique in elevation or extreme cold. No, he's both of his obliques are both hurt. That's the problem. He had one that was hurt, and then in Tampa, you could tell he was in a lot of pain. But then last week he was overcompensating for the one, so he hurt the other one. So yeah, it's a big mess. Anyways, I'll get to you in a second here, Shady Luke. But first, we're gonna get to Joseph. What's up, Joseph?
Yo, what's up, Jesse? Is my mic working now?
It's working fantastic, man. Way better.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. I mean, considering, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel that. I want to get your take on a certain opinion I'm hearing around from different content creators that Kyle deserves, or not, he deserves to have a bad season from what he's done at this, with the Niners. Do you think that's real? Why does he deserve, to have a pass on having a bad season? Why? Because he brought us to 2 Super Bowls and lost? No, he doesn't deserve that, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because like the old school fan in me is like, well, Seifert got fired and he won 2 Super Bowls, and Harbaugh got fired and he only had 1 season that was just like, let this guy go. But I do think that there's something to be said for Kyle's. I mean, regardless of what we think of Kyle, and I just laid out a big case of why Kyle's annoying as hell. He has done a good job as far as this team competing. This is the first year that he's had a bad season when his quarterback's been healthy. And that is factual. Now, we can say, hey, you're the reason the quarterbacks got hurt or whatever else like that. That could play for sure. But to me, when I look at it and say, okay, well, he's done all these great things, 4 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowl appearances. I think deserve is a strong word, but I do think that plays. I do think that it plays.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And I guess my opinion on Brock also. Last season I was like a big Brock homer, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god,
yeah,
it's like the next Joe Montana. But I mean,
yeah,
I think when you look at Brock Purdy, when everything good around him is going well, I mean, injuries wasn't like how they are now. Last season, everything was great. Sure, he'll look like a $60 million quarterback, but when everything around him is going bad, he does not look like a $60 million quarterback. I think anything under or above 4 years, 120 million is way too much. And I mean, if he declines it, then it's like, all right, go somewhere else, see if you get more. You're kind of stuck with Kyle.
I do think that there is something that people are neglecting to bring up, which is, and it was brought up today on Twitter, and I agree with this. Nobody's going to pay this dude like that. I'm sorry. There's not a single team that's dropping 50 mil plus on Brock Purdy. It's just not going to happen. So why are you going to go bid against yourself and overpay for this kid? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Don't do what Miami did. Nobody was going to pay Tua like that. Nobody was going to pay Tua like that. Now, I do get to a certain extent, hey, man, you came in, you were underpaid for a while, you toughed it out, you really saved our bacon because we drafted Trey Lance and that dude sucked. We appreciate you. We'll throw you a little bit of love tax. But also, this is a business, man. This is a business. Do not, if next team down the road is willing to give him 40, okay, give him 45 as a thank you. But you don't have to give him 60 as a thank you. I just don't think any team would pay that guy $50 million or north of it. I would be shocked if there was a team in the league. And I think, regardless of what we think of Shanahan, the league looks at Shanahan as an elite head coach or an elite offensive mind in the very least. And they look at it and say, well, if you couldn't get this guy to play elite for 2 years back to back, what makes you think my organization's going to figure it out? No, we're not paying that dude like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's kind of all I wanted to put my insight into. Just want to say, I like the show, like the 4-man front. Yeah, fire Kyle.
All right, Joseph. Give me a chance to kick. He's like, yeah, fire Kyle. X. Appreciate you, man. That was good. That was good. Shady says, Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like Shanny hasn't been creative since Debo got the fly sweep first down in 2021 wild card game versus the Cowboys. Am I off with that take? He showed glimpses of creativity for sure. I do think that there's something to be said for CMC joined this team 2 years ago when the offense was floundering very, very tough. They weren't doing well at all. They were circling the toilet bowl offensively. And then CMC got injected in the offense. And for a year and a half, teams couldn't figure out CMC. He's that good. And that really, really helped. But now you remove CMC from that. And yes, CMC is back in name, but he's not CMC. He's not that guy. He's not the offensive player of the year. And things are getting a little shaky again. And I don't care what stat you throw my way. Oh, they're yards and this and that. It's just if they were scoring in the red zone, you watch these games like I watch these games. Every yard is so tough to come by, man. Nothing is easy. And it's been so easy for this team for a better part of 3 seasons. And now it's clearly not. Now, is that all Kyle? No, he can't tackle. He can't, go out there and run the route as crisp as it needs to be ran, or, not get penalties or throw the full. I get all of that. But the oh my gosh, Kyle's in his bag. I think one game this year I said that. I'm trying to remember which game it was, but I was like, man, Kyle's dialing it up this game. Where's this Kyle been? That's been it though. That's it. So it's been missing for sure. It's been missing. All right, we're going to get to level 7, who's a Cardinals fan. So get ready for this, y'all. But I do owe him a mic. He's been supporting me for last couple months. I really appreciate him. And, he's been talking a lot of ish since before we played the Cardinals. So I got to give him a mic and let him talk his ish. I have a feeling he's about to victory lap a little bit, but here we go. We'll see. We'll see what he's got on his mind. What's up, level 7?
Yo, what's up, Jesse? What's up, Jesse? I'm a wait.
Hey, I saw you on Grants, by the way, man.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, nice little cameo. You feel me?
Yeah,
Cardinals fan in the 49ers space. You know what I'm saying? Doing my thing in this YouTube thing, trying to come up like you guys.
Close, your enemies closer. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Are you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. I have videos posted. Okay. I just posted my picks for this week.
All right, I'll go subscribe to it, man. I got you.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. But yeah, this is my thing, right? When it comes to the 49ers, right? You said you're gonna give Kyle another year, but it's like, okay, in my opinion, like as a Cardinals fan, like I want you guys to stay with Kyle Shanahan, because it's feel like we know who he is. You feel me? Like, okay, we're not gonna see anything new from Kyle Shanahan. Like, we know who he is. We know he's that guy that when he gets in the fourth quarter and he's up, he starts making the wrong decisions. He stops knowing when to call certain plays in certain places. It's like, we know who he is. So it's like, what do you think is gonna change? That's my question to you. What do you think is gonna change for the 49ers next year to possibly make it a better situation for you guys with Kyle Shanahan as a head coach?
I don't think it's going to, but I think this team and this fan base needs to see it crash and burn before they're willing to just let it go.
Okay, so you're just completely ready for the tankathon next year.
I mean, the thing is that you weren't here earlier, but I was posed a similar question from somebody in the fan base that really goes hard at Kyle, and he's like, dude, you've been saying rebuild. Like, how are you going to say keep Kyle now when you want to rebuild? I'm like, well, that's great. I have been saying rebuild, but they're not going to rebuild. So am I going to bring in a new guy that has to deal with all these bad contracts, all these older aging players, and Kyle's roster for 2 years, and then he'll get fired because he's not winning with them? Or do I make Kyle go down with the burning ship and then bring in his replacement and allow him to build the roster from scratch with all the money in the world and everything at his disposal? I think that's probably the right decision.
Yeah.
And if Kyle turns it around, then hey, that's fine too. Like, I'm down to keep Kyle if he turns it around somehow.
Kyle will have to win a Super Bowl to turn it around, but I don't see it. But yeah, all right, here's my time to run the victory lap on you, because I came here before the season, man. I came here before the season. I told you what was going to happen. I told you that the 49ers culture looked iffy. I told you that it didn't look like it was put together. I said, you guys, we're going to miss the playoffs this year. And you slept on my Cardinals, man. You slept on my Cardinals. I told you we were a legitimate team to not be messed with. And I feel like people are still sleeping on us right now. People are looking at us as a good team. But all right, here's another question I have to pose for you. Look, in terms of the NFC West, I honestly look at it like this: like we don't know much about Mike McDonald right now, but I feel like you guys may have the worst head coach in the NFC West, and that seems like a super bold take. That seems like a bold take to say because Kyle Shanahan just went to the Super Bowl. But just like you said, we're not rating Kyle Shanahan as an offensive coordinator. We're rating him as a head coach, as a leader of men.
I will say this. I will say this. I don't know that I can go that far yet, but I know exactly where you're headed, and this is why I think this take is actually something that could age very, very well. First of all, Sean McVay is better, so we'll just set him aside. He's proven he's better. He's actually won the Super Bowl. Okay. So he is better. We know that. But Kyle's not the hot young coach anymore, right? He's been in the league. He's been a head coach now for 8 years. He's not young anymore. He's about average age for head coach in the NFL. I think he's like 1 year under the average age. You've got guys in McDonald and in Gannon who are the hot young-ish, man. They're just getting their first opportunities. They're bringing something creative to the defensive side. And you see it, man. You see that passion, that youth, that creativity. All that is still there for them. So this take might age really, really well, but I got to see those guys do it for a few, just like I would with a young quarterback. Like, I'm not going to let a young quarterback come in and be like, oh, so Jaden Daniels is better than Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is having a down year. It's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Can we see it for a few years? Yeah. So, yes, I think in a couple years that this take can age very, very well. I just can't go right now and say these guys are for sure better. But what I will say is it took McDonald all of one game to figure out Kyle Shanahan, and that should scare the hell out of 49er fans because he clearly figured it out when he was with Baltimore. He didn't have the horses in game one because he was missing a bunch of starters. And he finally gets his guys back and he shut him down again. I don't know that Kyle can counter him.
Yeah. Yeah. And before I get up out of here, let me say this, let me say one more thing about my Cardinals.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Just like the 2019 Niners, nobody expected them to go up and get to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you that if the Cardinals get into the playoffs this year, I genuinely believe that we can beat any team in the NFL just because of who we have at quarterback. I do, like I told you earlier in the year, I think that we have the most talented player in the NFL as our quarterback. And if we get to the playoffs, that different level of Kyler Murray, I just think it kicks in. I think it kicks in, and I don't think anybody will be able to beat us because you can game plan for Jared Goff, but you can't game plan for Kyler Murray. So that's you know what I'm saying? I'm saying the Cardinals are coming, and we're here. We're here.
Well, listen, I'm not. It sounds crazy right now, but I'm not going to doubt you because I already doubted you once. And
exactly.
I could have been wrong. We'll see. You got to make the playoffs first, all right? Let's pump the brakes a little bit, baby. What if Seattle beats you guys this week? You never know.
Oh my God!
I am picking the Cardinals. I am picking the Cardinals to win that game, by the way. But I'm just saying. Really, I'm just trying to hold on to my take at this point. I'm hanging on for dear life. But Kyler Murray, there's never been an argument from me as far as a talent standpoint. Kyler is the most talented. I'm not going to go NFL because, listen, he's not 6'5" like Josh Allen. But as far as a pure talent, he's the most talented quarterback in the NFC. I believe that. Unfortunately, talent isn't everything. You got to put it together. But he is playing the best football of his career. And if that continues, he is a problem. He definitely is.
For sure. So we're going to see y'all one more time. Week 18. I hope y'all have another one of these mics because by that time, we will still be on this win streak because we are about to smash the Seahawks. We're about to smash them.
Hey, good luck to you, man. I got to be a Seahawks fan this weekend, though, because I can't watch y'all keep winning if the 49ers have any chance. Not that I think they do at this point, but, if there is any chance, slim, the door's cracked open, the Cardinals have to lose this week. So
yeah, you got to root for your team. I get it, but it's not happening. It's not happening. All
right, bro. Hey, stay up, man. Keep it easy.
Deuces.
Later. Hey, he's doing good, man. I was subscribed to his channel. He's got almost 1,000 subs. He's got some videos that are popping off, though. YouTube definitely does a good job of promoting new creators, and he's done a good job of making quality videos that are keeping people's engagement, and he's got a few that have popped off really good. So, man, I'm very happy for you. Keep doing your thing. And we'll talk again for sure. All right, let me remove him. And then Brother Bob says, that's the Jesse I know. Kyle Levy gets full blame. There we go. All day, every day. Kim says, damn, Kyle should be fired. He didn't scout Patrick, failed. Trey because he can't develop. And Brock isn't good enough to get over Kyle's deficiencies. Listen, man, Kyle knows how important the quarterback position is. It's why he said he initially didn't want the 49ers job. And I think this was what he was worried about. Brother Bob says, exactly. Kyle Levy makes no sense half the time, so keep him. Yes, Brother Bob. Let me cook. Gregorius Greg says, Jesse, could it be that Kyle is burnt out? Yeah, that's true. Definitely could be. He has been in a ton of games. Maybe he needs to take a break. I do get the feeling, it is funny, because everybody's like, oh, man, everybody line up to hire Kyle Shanahan. If Kyle got fired at the end of the season, I think Kyle takes a year off. Now, I do think he comes back and he gets a job. I do believe that, but I think Kyle does take a year off. I don't think we see Kyle in the NFL in 2025 if he were to get fired. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but I genuinely don't think we would see him as a head coach in this next cycle. I think he would wait till the year after. Brother Bob says, so Kyle Levy is stale, so let's keep him another year. Yes, Brother Bob. Yes. Thomas De La Cruz says, I'm tired of these. I'm tired of these snakes on this plane. Fire Kyle. You guys remember that Dave Chappelle skit? What it was, Sam Adams beer or Sam Jackson's beer? Oh my gosh, dude, that was so good. So it's my mother beer. Samuel Jackson. Oh, Chappelle was the best, dude. That was so good. Oh my gosh. All right, y'all. I didn't expect to be doing a show tonight. I'm very glad that I did, man. Very glad that I did. You guys are great. Spidey says, my dad, who's a Bills fan, said that if the 49ers fire Kyle would never win a Super Bowl, and it would take the 49ers at least 10 years before they'd win a Super Bowl. Thoughts on that, Jesse? Yeah, I don't think that it would be a quick process. I don't know that it's a quick process if Kyle stays around, though, either. You know what I mean? And I think your dad, being a Bills fan, would know better than anybody because he kind of went through it with Levy, right? Kind of went through it. Brother Bob says, okay, your show, you cook. Late Second Sports. Perfect. Chappelle Show. Man, I'll tell you, if anybody who's like super young and doesn't know the Chappelle Show, do yourself a favor. You want a good laugh? I wasn't late tonight. I don't think. You know what? I wasn't late. Even if I was, I wasn't. But if you need a good laugh, go watch some Chappelle Show. I promise you. All right, y'all. Be easy. We'll talk for sure on Sunday after the game. Much love. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.